We'd like to say that when we first did a story about that magical stage duo, Hume, Cronin, and Jessica Tandy, that we knew that she was going to win an Oscar as Best Film Actress. Truth is, she didn't even know at that time that there would be a lady in her life named Miss Daisy and a movie named Driving Miss Daisy. Back in December of 1986, it was enough for the two of them, Cronin, Tandy, that they had just received one of the nation's most coveted cultural awards, the Kennedy Center Honors. They were awarded the Kennedy Honors for their lifetime of work. And what a body of work it is. They've been actors, each of them, for almost 60 years. His first big Broadway chance came back in 1935 in George Abbott's Three Men and a Horse. He won a Tony for his Polonius in Richard Burton's Hamlet. She made her reputation first in London as a young actor with Laurence Olivier and John Gielgud. But when she came to New York in the early 40s, her career faltered. She did a few films, but it wasn't until 1947 that she really took off again. And when she played Blanche in Tennessee Williams' Streetcar Named Desire, she created a sensation and won her first Tony Award playing opposite a young newcomer named Marlon Brando. Cronin and Tandy have had separate careers, of course, but for over 30 years now, they've worked together often in films, on television, and on stage.
Do I lay him down as soon as I get him?
Oh, you hold on.
Nearly 10 years ago, they starred in a Broadway hit called The Gin Game.
If you knew the hell I'd been through, you'd change your tune mighty fast on that, gin.
Jessica won a Tony Award for her performance. Over the years, they've received any number of awards, but usually the award goes either to one or the other, not both. So what about that most human of all emotions, jealousy?
You mean to say that there isn't? It's exactly what I mean to say. As far as I'm concerned, that has never been even the shadow of a problem.
Well,
I
now,
never
wait a minute.
remember. All right,
Wait
you tell yours in a moment. But
okay.
But as far as I remember, if Jessie gets an award, she's in a play with me, and I'm passed over. I always feel that somehow she's only got that award because I was there with her. I mean, never mind how unrealistic or how egocentric it is. It's true. I take enormous pride in her awards or her reviews. Or I always, it belongs to us. It's not just personal.
He is an extrovert and a perfectionist. She is private and retiring. Singly and as a team, their performances have been extravagantly praised. The New York Times drama critic once said of Jessica that only poets, not theater critics, should be allowed to write about her. And yet...
I always was brought up to believe I was very plain, and indeed I was. And I had no sense of how to make the best of myself at all. In fact, people who thought that I was talented when I was beginning would write letters of introduction for me in which they would say, I know she's plain, but don't pay any attention because on stage she'll look all right. So I was quite convinced that I was plain.
Was she plain when you met her in the 40s?
No, she was beautiful.
There is no synthetic glitter about the Cronins, none of the manufactured glamour talk. There is no gossip mongering about them. Their stardom is built solely on their performances.
You seemed just perhaps a little embarrassed or tentative about talking about your marriage and the togetherness of 44 years.
Well, now this gets into a subject that is, we've never talked about this, and it's a very, very recent development.
We are in the process of separating. We may work together, but I think the marriage is over.
We've had 44 years that have been really quite wonderful, but Jessie has her eye on another fella, and I would like to play the field before it's too late, while I'm so vertical. You don't know how we have been dying to do that in an interview. I mean,
They have been married since 1942. He is Canadian, she's British, although she became an American citizen in 1954. They have 2 children together, Chris and Tandy, and she has a daughter, Susan, from an earlier marriage to British actor Jack Hawkins. but their careers have always come first. A year ago, they opened on Broadway in a play called The Petition, a two-character tour de force. They said it would be their last.
Question. This extraordinary career and this remarkable devotion by people in the theater and the audience to the two of you. And then comes The Petition. Who was responsible for choosing that play?
You mean you think we shouldn't have done it?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
I just didn't think it was a very good play, I guess.
Well, you had a lot of company.
Very well. The truth. Where shall we start? Money, sex.
What are you talking about?
You asked me what I'd write about. So I'm prepared to think back and try to remember all the times when I've been less than strictly honest with you. Well, I suppose we could start with the little things, like the times I've been overdrawn at the bank without letting you know, and the odd faked orgasm, and then go on to more serious.
This is ridiculous. I'm glad we did that play. I mean, I've been in plays that open on Wednesday and closed on Saturday night. This at least ran 100 performances or better, and garnered some wonderful reviews. You know?
Not so much for the play, but
No, not so much for the play.
Two of you.
Yeah.
Always for the two of
But,
you.
Mike, you said you didn't think the play was good enough and you thought it was a mistake for us to do it.
Mm.
If we waited for plays that were really wonderful, no question asked about that, we would be sitting doing nothing a lot of the time. So if something comes along that at least has some interest for you, take the experience. You can only come out at the end of it richer.
When a play is over, when you're through playing a role, do you go back and inquire into the part again and inquire into the play again? You smile.
Oh, yes. It isn't that you're inquiring into it, but suddenly in the middle of the night you'll suddenly think, oh my God, now I understand how I should have done that, or what that really truly meant.
She'll do that, not me.
Yeah, but you're supposed to be the perfectionist here.
Well, I am, but that job is over. What's the next one? Jessie will live within a part so deeply that sometimes I'd say, enough! I can't take it over shredded wheat. I mean...
Here we go, and swing 'em to the left, then you swing 'em to the right. Then you do the twist with all of your might.
There you go, Barney. Hope you feel better.
Don't use that stuff. Use Cronin.
I use both.
Let me hear it.
A couple of years ago, they made the film Cocoon, a story about some folks in a retirement community who stumble onto a magical substance that, eureka, revives their waning energies in every way.
Good for you. And that's what we call dancing.
What about getting older?
I don't brood, I think, about getting old, but there isn't one day of my life that I don't resent it.
You do?
Oh, sure. With a terrible and, I hope, rather healthy fury, because I battle against it all the time. I mean, my eyesight's lousy and gets worse, and I get up in the morning and I feel like a bent hairpin, and I don't like finding that as I get out of a car, I stoop, or as I get out of the sofa, I go, you know, whatever. I'd like to spring up, that's, you know.
I tell you, though, we're very lucky because we're actors, because it's true that getting out of a chair sometimes is painful. But if I'm on stage, I'm going to get out of that chair.
And, you know, there's another wonderful thing about it. You escape yourself all the time.
Recently, they've made a movie, still unreleased, a Steven Spielberg-produced film called Batteries Not Included. The stage remains their first love, but films are important to them for the money they bring, of course, but for another reason, too.
It's a whole different ballgame than the theater.
But it's important to do it.
Very important to do it, because you reach a whole different public, because it's important to achieve that kind of recognition. It makes you far more valuable in the areas where you want to work.
I mean, it's extraordinary, really, that the theater, films, gives you an opportunity to work and work and work until you drop.
Yes, yes. I think they're wanting to film the dropping.
We've already been interviewed for our obituaries. Interviewed for our obituaries.
They weren't crass enough to come and say, well, now you're getting on, let's tuck you away.
A lot of these awards have to do with that. We're getting awards for survival, for still being vertical. That's all right, I'll take those.